Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Many of us have had this realization, and you've even seen it highlighted on sitcoms, etc., where somebody says, "Oh my gosh, I'm my parents," or "I'm my father, I'm my mother." What if we would have flipped that around and looked at it this way? I wonder what my life would be like if my parents blank, maybe worked out their differences, worked on their emotional challenges, whatever it may be. Would things be different for you? Think about that for a moment as we bring her in here. She is an amazing psychotherapist, works with children, adults, couples, individuals on all different situations and challenges. And it's great to have her back here. Susie Engel joins us on the program. How you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, Steve. How are you today?
Really good and pondering. I am
Good.
pondering, and that's what I think it's your superpower. I don't know what it is, but you'll say something and then make us think, apply something to our lives. And even with what we're talking about today, I'm doing it. My brain is, spinning around. I was like, what is that? And we're centering on Parent Connected today.
Yeah, you're stimulated because we're thinking, somebody posed the question today during one of our sessions. One of my clients said, gee, if parents work through their emotional stuff, how would children experience childhood these days? And it was a beautiful session because it went in all sorts of directions, and it really brought up a lot of insightful connections for this client. And it all came from this one question that he brought up. If it was almost like if only parents would work through their, rather than the go-to of avoiding their emotional stuff.
Well, you can't ignore that if parents worked on their emotional stuff, the divorce rate would be almost non-existent.
Oh my God, it would be so fantastic because what are we fighting about?
This is my belief, and I totally want to bounce this off of you. Most of the challenges within divorce come from the couple, each individually, not recognizing and working on their challenges. They might not even know, but and comes from their childhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're looking at each other as if, and I love saying this with my clientele, like, let's even delete the words fault and blame, because my clients, like, they live in this world where internally they're blaming themselves, they're faulting themselves because they've seen it. They've been at the brunt of it. It must be somebody's fault. And really, like, couples in conflict, and then we have to get back to the parenting stuff. Couples in conflict miss the mark that they should be looking at themselves within themselves, introspective of themselves, not it's you. And if that were to happen, I agree with you, to just be humble, take a bite of humble pie. I never even said those words before. But if they were humble enough, if I am humble enough to say, this is my stuff, not anybody else's, and work through it, then guess what? A relationship would really be what it's supposed to be. And communication would be what it's supposed to be. Communication is supposed to be connecting. Nothing more, nothing less. So that's an empty word at this point, the communication word.
By the way, humble pie, when you say that, there was actually a rock group from back in the day. I don't want to date myself. And they weren't super popular, but their name was Humble Pie.
Oh,
I
that's funny.
think I'm talking like late 60s. Anyway,
You're not dating yourself. You're
no,
fine.
no. I just,
A great time.
I have different playlists and things pop up. Uh, I'll go with that.
Beautiful.
I'll go with that. Um,
Beautiful.
when it comes to those, you don't realize what the stuff you have until you start working on it. And then it comes crystal clear. And I'm sure your clients have those aha moments. I've had them where I've realized, oh, that's why I do what I do. And there's that. And then there's that. And then I look back at relationships I've been in and I look at what I've done with it. It takes two, right? Somebody said to me recently, and I laughed at this because it's so true. A stick has two sides. Yeah, it does. It's there's two there in the relationship,
A stick.
but it's true. There's two sides to the relationship, but when you've done the work and you've realized your role in the relationship and life in general, you look at past relationships and even present, and you have clarity. You realize no blame, but
Yeah.
it's, oh, that's why they do or did what they did or yeah, that's it comes clear that way.
Yes, and I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process because it doesn't cost anything to grow. It doesn't cost anything to get, you know what my motto is? It's about getting healthy. Like who wouldn't want to? Even some teenagers who come to the office, you know, I think that they internalize like, oh, they become defensive, like, what's wrong with me? So the wall comes up, and the
Mm.
wall comes down very quickly because it's very easy to engage people. And to kind of flip, like, I wonder what it is within you that you would argue or fight about just getting healthy. Because look at all the stress and extra work you have to put into all of this.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you can go through 1,000 scenarios, right?
Totally.
And it's just like, wow, I imagine what you're gonna feel like. And it's not about being like you're so unhealthy because I'm saying you're gonna get healthy, but it really is like what is the argument about that? You know, but if we think about being able to take a deep breath and shed the stigma of reflection and inner work and individual development.
Mm-hmm.
If we just look at it at the purest form, how would parents influence their children so differently on a day-to-day basis
Yep.
rather than, take the childhood and joy out of growing up and then, kids are confused. Kids don't understand that, when they're excited about something, they're not already editing themselves. It's really like getting that injection back into let children enjoy themselves. They're not little people who are supposed to be grown up and perfect and reflections of us. They're supposed to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Enjoying life. And I
joy.
feel we as parents, and if you go on that journey of self discovery and call it improvement, dealing with your baggage, if you will, you don't know until you know. You don't know what it feels like. You haven't done the work. You haven't figured it all out. But the emotional freedom that comes from it after you have, and to your point, so eloquently put, all the time you've wasted on things like arguments and all of that. And why did the arguments happen in the relationship as parents? Because you have stuff and you
Yeah,
haven't figured it out.
yeah. And so now we're back to the beginning of the conversation that the motive to work through our emotional stuff exponentially pays off
Oh, yeah.
because then we're not looking at our little babies or our little children. We're not viewing them as a reflection of us. And oh, don't embarrass us. and you're our resume,
Mm,
we're looking at them through the lens of connection. Like, I delight in you.
mm, yeah.
I enjoy you just for who you are, not because you got a good grade on your spelling bee, or not because, but just because you like created coffee and sprinkled cinnamon and sugar on it and thought that was like the greatest thing in the world. Well, wow, it really is because you're excited about it.
Absolutely. You're a
Yeah.
wonderful little person running
Yeah.
around. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I had this
That's
realization
excitement.
after I started doing the work as a parent, um, and looking back, how I would have parented differently, how I would have done it differently. And I don't look at it as a negative, but I look at it as more of a, I would have had more understanding. I would have maybe more of a little more patience. And then, you figure out like, why weren't the patients there sometimes? Well, it was because, working a lot of hours, et cetera, et cetera.
Stress.
Stress. Why was there stress? Because of other factors floating out there. Uh, could be somebody that comes from a place of lack. I got to keep working. I got to keep working because what if something happens and I can't support my family? And then that turns into stress and lack of sleep and things like that.
Mm.
And once you figure it out, it's like, why the heck am I worrying? I have nothing
Yeah,
to worry about.
I love it. And I like what you say, and you've said it in a few of our conversations. You don't know until you know. And that's true. Like, just because I'm trained to do this work, I don't know what you're going to discover.
Hmm.
And a lot of people think like we're some sort of authority figure. Like, I haven't lived in your body and
Right.
lived in your life and lived where you are. I have my own life and my own context, but I can set people up to know what they can know about themselves,
You know
and
what
they
you
make
are?
their own connections.
You're the key to change. That's it. You're
Yeah,
helping us
really.
open our mind with understanding. It's
Yeah.
not like you're doing anything other than helping us understand who we are anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you all do everything. You all do everything. I'm just like, I just get you set up.
Yeah.
And I like that because when we were taught in school, and I had a couple of mentors, fantastic professors who were on the cusp of retirement. Um, and they were the type that would go on the street corners and work with people.
Mm,
So they really had a wealth of experience and just common sense and human connection. And, but back in the day, we were taught we are a change agent. When you said you have the key, we're change agents,
okay.
but we don't know what the answers are. We don't know because we're not in your life. That's a beauty of all of this.
Hmm. We're all individuals, I'm going to tell you, I was going to share with you. My parents got divorced when I was very, very, very young, and didn't have a close relationship with my dad. And he passed suddenly when I was 21.
Mm,
And
It's very young.
right after he passed, I started realizing, I love the water. Like that's my thing. And he always did.
Mm,
And then as time has gone on, and once I started doing the work and making these realizations in the last 4 or 5 years, I realized that I am just like him, even more so than I ever realized. But I'm going to be very honest with you. You said some things today that made me realize that I am more like him than I ever thought I did. I don't need to get into the details, but
yeah.
something just flashed in my mind. It was like, oh, I always say I'm living his life now. Now I really am. It's because of something you said. And it was just like, whoa, not
Beautiful.
even kidding. It's like, oh, all right. I just got a crystal clear picture of something.
That's
You know,
beautiful. That's how it goes.
well,
Yeah.
that's how you go.
It's experiential. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's epigenetics too.
But yeah,
Or
potentially. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or he's in you, but he wasn't, he was doing, so you were they divorced when you were very young, but you had a relationship with him.
Yeah, maybe once when I was little, once every couple of weeks, and then it, was less. And then when I got older, 17, 18, 19, around there, I kind of said, you know what? You weren't around. I'm not around. I got a girlfriend. I got a job. I
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
car. I'm going to do
Different
my own thing.
stage
And
of life.
yeah, yeah.
Healthy on your part.
Unfortunately, you have regrets because that's what I was doing, and then he passed. So then I missed
Yeah,
out on a lot of that time.
yeah,
But like you say, he's in me, your parents are in you. And then
yeah.
when you really start thinking about it, you can't deny that we have those qualities of our parents, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Well, and that's the that would be a good starting point. I think that you were thinking of that. Um like, oh my gosh, I'm my parents. I think
Mm.
you said that before we went on air. And
But you know what? A lot of people
not a
look at
bad
it,
thing.
they look at it as a bad thing.
Yeah,
A
no.
lot of times, oh my God, I'm my mother. Oh, and once you start realizing who you are, why you do what you do, et cetera, you realize that those are good things, and or you make corrections or changes based on what you need in life. My mom was very overprotective. I was very overprotective with my kids. It was only until, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago where I was like, "Well, Steve, what are you doing? Knock it
Yeah,
off.
good
Stop
for
with that."
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
good, good.
And there's nothing wrong with her being overprotective, but then maybe that supported her and that's all good. Wasn't for me. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't, it could be a little bit off balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why are you like your parents?
Oh my gosh, I would say that I am 50-50 straight up.
Wow.
You know, and the more I think about it, I used to think my mother and father were so different and distinctive, but I will say their strongest points were also their similarities. And I think that, just being so principled and driven and my mother very um uh like let kids be kids. Like you can't
Hmm.
be a helicopter parent because the children aren't going to figure things out for themselves. And back then there was no terminology of
Mhm. Yep.
helicopter parent, but today everybody knows what that means.
Sure.
Or overprotective in a different way than you're describing it. But how am I like my parents? I really think that I am like 50-50, and that has made me who I am because I am very free. My father instilled, like, don't be a follower, be a leader. What does that mean to a young child? For me, it was like, I can be. And I don't have to be self-conscious. And I don't need to be like everybody else. I mean, I didn't really like the high school I went to, but I will say I had a lot of, everybody was very friendly and nice. I didn't like the high school I went to, but I knew I could always just be myself. And I
Mm.
like that about myself. I
Wow.
don't have these like heavy, like inner conversations like, ooh, did I come off the wrong way? I don't do any of that. I don't think I've ever done any of that. Maybe like a few times when I was in adolescence,
Wow.
you know.
It seems like you were very independent and, had a strong personality when you were younger.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm not apologetic. I love that. I think my mother and father both taught me that in different ways. I mean, my mother's this cute little woman and my father was this great guy, but very like stressed and very principled, but also like a jazz trumpeter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I
Huh.
mean, that's all like fantastic uh, and they were both so I just feel like they taught the important things, but let us be kids, you
Do
know.
you have a very strong appreciation of music.
Very. I mean, I think like I love all music. I mean, not so much country, but I do love the Dixie Chicks, probably because George Bush had them banned. But I love music. And people say like if you take mushrooms and things like this, like psychedelics, but I think that all music is like phenomenally psychedelic, whether it's Broadway musical, whether it's um classical, whether it's I listen to new music on the radio, whether
Mhm.
it's rock and roll, whether it's I don't know, I just love music and
Yeah.
I love to dance, especially Latin dancing.
Wow. Look
It's
at
such a
you.
free thing, like love to dance.
Reason I asked you that is because of your father being a trumpeter. And, I was thinking he inspired you or it's in your DNA. And the psychedelic thing, I know we're going a little deep here, but I agree with you. And I'm currently listening to a song by David Bowie. Nope. I could throw you the
So
name.
fantastic.
Most people wouldn't even know the name of the song. It's his longest song ever. It's like 10 minutes long. And I would listen to it over and over again.
Yeah,
I can't 100 times, no exaggeration.
yeah.
And there's something there that still is hooking me. And I was at the gym earlier today, and then I put it on and played it over and over again, just a certain section of it. I'm in a different place. I'm
Yes.
not at the gym. I'm
Oh,
tripping, call it tripping on, music at that point.
music.
Yeah, I'm doing reps. I don't even know I'm doing them because it
Oh,
transported me. Like a
oh,
like
yeah.
like
Well,
micro
music,
dosing.
yeah, music is transporting. And
Yes.
how do people even write? It's like reading a great novel. How do people even create this novel? I'm all like, I love life. Yeah.
Mm. I think we just coined a new term. You talked about the mushroom analogy to music and everything. It's not micro dosing, it's music dosing. That's what we're doing. It's music dosing.
Music dosing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I got to get a fix. I'll talk to you later.
I do that. Like I put on music and I'll
Oh,
listen over and over as well. Like I never get tired. And it's like good food too. Or I'll cook something and I won't get tired of how delicious it is. Like good, goodness. Like we can't get tired of goodness.
isn't it funny how when you put music on, it will take you to different places? Like a song came out in 1974, Joni Mitchell, Help Me. Okay. It was her
Yeah.
first big hit. And there's a section, I've listened to it recently, maybe a little nostalgic. And there's a section in there where she says, dance with the lady with the hole in her stocking. And then did it feel good? Did it feel good? And she's really talking about two people in relationships that love the relationship, but they love their freedom at the same time. But every time I hear the woman with the hole in her stocking, I think of my grandmother because she always had a hole in her stocking,
Yeah.
and I listen to that song when I spend a lot of time with my grandmother, and it just phew, takes me right back to that moment.
That's
Weird.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
weird. The connections, but that's what music does. Music is therapy too. Can't ignore that.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Boy, we
Absolutely.
went in many different directions today, but it was all good.
It's all organic.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And that goes right back to, talking about kids and being free. That's what we're kind of
Yeah,
doing
you
here.
gotta let them be. They're not a reflection of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ease up. Yeah. Enjoy. Yeah.
Love talking with you. Again, you have a superpower to inspire thought, impactful thought in us.
Thank you.
I've never experienced that before.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Maybe offline, I'll explain, where I went there with my father and
Yeah.
what came clear for me.
Yeah.
Uh, you are available to help anybody out to really dissect this kind of stuff and realize what we're doing and maybe be our parents or not, whatever it might be. Best way to find you, your website, right?
My website. Yep. Susan Engel, ENGEL hyphen LCSW.com.
Wonderful
All
talking
can
with you.
do it. You can find, we could have like a nationwide, huge conversation.
Let's say this. If you want to if this resonates, you want to reach back, you can find me instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. You have a question, a thought, a consideration, we'll hit it up next time we get together. Even if it's a song you want to share that we should be
Oh,
listening to,
that would
whatever.
be great. Yeah.
We'll music dose next time we
Tell us your song. Yeah. Contact Steve. You know how to reach him.
well, you know what? I'm always looking for music that I haven't even thought of. Maybe there's a song out there, on an album that, I haven't heard and would make a difference. You never know.
I have a whole playlist. Ooh.
Yeah.
But let's hear from other people. That'd be awesome.
100%. Susie, thank you for today.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate
and
it.
thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.